Hello students, welcome to EPG Pathshala. I am Dr. Asif Ali Sayed from the Department of Business Administration, Aligarh Muslim University. Today, we shall be discussing about the module Creativity and Innovation Skills of the paper Skill Development and Social Entrepreneurship. After completing this module, the students will be able to understand the concept and relevance of innovation skills and creativity, get familiar with dimensions of types of innovative skills via intrapreneurship. Introduction. The relentless pressure of competition stemming from globalization, technological changes, etc. today are increasingly buffeting organizations. One of the pathways for companies to weather these storms is through unleashing the entrepreneurial spirit, talent in its employees, enabling these employees to carve out new paths, initiate new ventures, defy the status quo in their organizations, and break fresh grounds. Much has been written in management literature about innovation in general and about corporate entrepreneurship, which is intrapreneurship, as a potent tool for delivering innovation in particular. Intrapreneurial innovation can be incremental or radical. The arena for intrapreneurial innovation could be an existing business and at times could even result in a totally new business being created within the organization. Sharma and Chrisman in 1999, they defined corporate entrepreneurship as the process whereby an individual or a group of individuals in association with an existing organization create a new organization or instigate renewal or innovation within that organization. Intrapreneurism enables employees of an organization to unleash their passion that often results in generating new avenues for business growth or alternately provides radical different ways of doing existing business. Every company requires new ideas to survive and grow profitably, and hence it has to find ways to tap the entrepreneurial potential inherent in its employees. Creativity also includes intrapreneurship as a pathway to innovation. Many scholars have highlighted the importance of pervasive innovation across the organization. This is as opposed to centralized innovation by specifically created groups and teams as one of the most important strategies for long-term market success, especially in long organizations. However, most large organizations experience a severe gap between interest and reality in this regard. These issues have been extensively discussed in literature. Pinchot in 1985, Hamel in 2002, Kaplan and Norton in 2001, and Quinn discussed it in 1985. There is a strong relationship between innovation and employees taking on psychological ownership of the company's growth, thereby manifesting entrepreneurial behavior. Since this is done within the framework of a large organization rather than as an autonomous entrepreneur, it is more appropriate to look at these innovators as corporate entrepreneurs or intrapreneurs. Pinchot 1985, Hamel 2002, Stopford and Borden, Fowler 1990, Kaplan and Norton 2001, Quinn 1985. Intrapreneurism enables employees of an organization to unleash their passion that often results in generating new avenues for business growth or alternately provides radically different ways of doing business which is existing. Every company requires new ideas to survive and grow profitably, and hence it has to find ways to tap the entrepreneurial potential inherent in its employees. Scholars have recognized that the top management has a significant role in creating an atmosphere wherein employees are encouraged to experiment. According to them, even if the top management wants to create an innovative and entrepreneurial organization, there is a need for entrepreneurs within the system who could execute the process of intrapreneurial innovation. A comprehensive model of intrapreneurship is presented by Hamel in 2002, where apart from the culture of innovation in the organization that the top management is responsible for creating, there are three other major components, which is innovation activism, that is the role played by autonomous corporate entrepreneurs, innovation as a capability whereby people in the organization are trained for innovation, and finally innovation as a process which ensures that ideas are progressively ramped up from imagination to experimentation, assessment, scale up, and finally reality. The implicit mantra in intrapreneurial innovation is make a little, sell a little, low risk experimentation and freedom to fail. Nowhere is this more glaringly visible than in 3M, the US based company that has built its fortune over the decades by harnessing the power of its corporate entrepreneurs. Objectives of innovation and intrapreneurship. Cost reduction and or improved customer focus tend to be the primary objectives of innovation and intrapreneurship. At the level of an individual intrapreneur, the trigger for innovation could emanate from the desire to challenge oneself beyond the obvious. Intrapreneurs seek to reinvent a company in order to increase efficiency, may do so by removing unproductive layers of bureaucracy, hierarchy, harnessing the power of technology, proper delegation of authority, and power to find other ways to improve efficiency and effectiveness. Another trigger for intrapreneurs could be the desire to provide more value to the customer through intense customer focus. They may develop innovative means of minimizing inconvenience to the customers that would enable them to become companies that are easy to do business with. Alternately, they may seek to enhance the company's market offerings by providing additional features to its market offerings. Intrapreneurial innovation also occurs when the issue at hand is one of pure survival. Whatever may be the trigger, intrapreneurial innovation serves as the growth engine for the company. It helps the company to expand or deepen its core competencies, as can be seen from the three intrapreneurial episodes. In the case of Tata Steel, one of India's most respected companies and among the world's lowest cost and most efficient steel manufacturers. The central argument of this module is like research and development division in manufacturing organizations. Service organizations like banks also need a differentiated unit to continuously scan internal and external environment for promising new ideas and to develop worthwhile ideas into implementable projects. Since innovation rests primarily on the initiatives of creative individuals who often have to contend with all forms of organizational resistance, changes are that many bright ideas which threaten the status quo may get suppressed or killed by the vested interests even before they reach the top management. Moreover, in the absence of organizational mechanism, the rate of innovation may be uneven. A model for managing innovation. To overcome the above mentioned problems, we suggest a model with a structurally differentiated unit at a corporate level whose main task would be to scan constantly the external and internal environment for promising ideas. The model also proposes organizational mechanisms for developing such ideas into full-blown innovations. The model assumes that an organizational structure is needed for generating ideas that has to be different from the one required for implementing innovations. According to them, an idea generating structure is characterized by low formalization, low centralization, and high complexity, while an implementing structure would demand high formalization, high centralization, and low complexity. Myers and Marcus seem to imply the same thing when they aver that managing innovation entails management of three distinct phases of the innovation process: idea generation, development, and implementation. Research evidence suggests that different structural and process characteristics are optimal for different phases. For example, at the idea generation phase, an organization needs to unstructure itself so that members can contribute ideas freely as equals. Non-bureaucratic process, informal interpersonal communication, shared judgment, and minimal paperwork are desirable. During the development stage, a moderate degree of structure is required to instill reality orientation in free-flowing ideas so as to develop them into useful, implementable projects. Also, a moderate degree of flexibility is required to permit open interaction with the departments and people who are to be affected by the innovation. The third stage of implementation requires a well-defined and clearly structured unit which can carry out the task of smooth and uniform implementation. The bureaucratic rigidity of large organizations makes such phase-related destructuring and restructuring very difficult to achieve. Yet, for fostering and maintaining innovation orientation, our banks can ill afford to dispense with this responsibility. Keeping in view the above considerations and building upon the design as suggested by Duncan in 1976, an organizational model with three interlinked structure that corresponds to three stages of the innovation process is proposed. It incorporates measures to ensure continuity across stages and rests upon the following premises. Novel ideas require working familiarity with the workplace technology. They are normally generated at the workplace. Their implementation, however, requires the blessings of the top, which is several hierarchies above the workplace. Besides structure, the dynamics of each phase differs in terms of the desirable work climate, the role of the leader, etc. And the model should take into account the stage-wise variations. The idea generation stage think tank. The objective of this activity, that is idea generation stage, is to generate novel ideas which can contribute to improved organizational performance. The process of idea generation has been described in literature in terms of performance gap or discrepancies between what the organization is capable of doing and what it is actually doing for exploiting a goal-related opportunity. Zoltman et al. 1973. Other model proposes the setting up of a think tank at the corporation level for generating ideas about ways and means of bridging these performance gaps through a continual scanning of internal and external environment. It would be positioned close to the top and its leaders would report to the top management. The think tank would consist of 6 or 7 creative young officers drawn from the major streams of the operations such as rural, advanced and international business, etc. They would join the think tank at different points of time for over 2 years or so and would retain to their respective divisions to be returned and replaced by new officers on completion of this time period. Besides close familiarity with the operations they represent, members of the think tank would need to have creativity in abundant measures. For generating offbeat ideas, they would need to have conceptual fluency, originality, the ability to suspend judgment, emotional security and autonomy of thinking. Steiner 1965. These activities would be coordinated by a competent senior executive who would essentially act as a facilitator in the group. The structural properties of the think tank can be described in terms of complexity, formalization and centralization. The initiation stage would be characterized by high task complexity and ambiguity. The development stage of the task force. The objectives at this stage would be to anchor free floating ideas to organizational needs and realities. Creative speculation of the previous stage would yield pace to active search behavior. The key tasks at this juncture would be to develop selected ideas into feasible, worthwhile projects and to build bridges with the potential users so as to make implementation easier. After the promising innovative ideas are approved by the top management for further work, a project related task force which would be entrusted with the responsibility to develop such ideas into implementable projects should be formed. It would have one member from the think tank to ensure continuity, two members from the principal division concerned and a few from other related divisions. For example, if the think tank has suggested a particular innovative project or innovation pertaining to the personnel function such as a new appraisal system, the task force constituted to develop the details of the innovation would have to be one member from the think tank, two members from the personnel division and 2 to 3 members from related divisions such as operations and planning. For developing a detailed proposal, the task force would be required information from several sources external to it. For example, the task force may require information regarding technical, marketing or organizational issues which could be available outside the task force, sometimes even outside the bank or organization. It would therefore need to keep open 3 communication boundaries, which is organization, environment boundary, task force organization boundary and inter-task force boundary as said by Tashman 1977. The task force would develop a detailed blueprint, pretest it on a limited scale, incorporate modifications and after securing the approval on the top, deliver the proposal to the division concerned for implementation. The time frame would be related to project requirements. On completion of the project, the task force would be disbanded and its member would be returned to its parent division. Coming down to the last stage, that is called as the implementation stage, it says that a division, once an innovative idea is ready for implementation, it would be handed over to the division primarily concerned with the function. The division would have participated in and influenced the idea at the development stage. Its prior involvement hopefully would have enhanced the division's acceptance of the proposal and make the task of implementation easier, since the division would already be having the necessary infrastructure, hierarchy and manpower. The same can be utilized for implementing the innovation. In order that the innovation gets stabilized with minimum resistance, the division would have to carefully plan the strategy for its implementation. The personnel characteristics that are desirable during this phase would be strong interpersonal skills, commitment to innovation, concern for details, perseverance, etc. However, since the division would have to utilize the existing manpower, it would not have much choice in the selection of people with these characteristics. The structural characteristics which facilitate idea generation, such as decentralized authority and less formal decisions making structures, can impede the implementation process. Sapolsky 1967, Duncan 1977. Structural requirements during this stage therefore would be just the opposite of the first stage. Compared to the earlier stages, task complexity would be low, the details of the innovation as well as that of the implementation strategy would be available with the implementing group, whose task would mainly be to execute the plan. Also, the background of the group members would be less heterogeneous compared to the think tank and the task force, thereby reducing the potential for conflicts. Innovative management. Leadership by followers. Innovative management features brief accounts of novel, offbeat management. They are accounts of creatively managed organizations or of innovative handling of management issues. The commoners of the organization often have surprising leadership qualities. Given a chance, they may see and do what the management is not able to do. familiarity with the equipments and the facilities, encumbered by overcommitment to traditions, policies, strategies, procedures, and the roles, give staff members a degree of mental freedom, greater mental freedom sometimes than that enjoyed by the management. Summary. Let us summarize as these large companies worldwide are on a journey to create organizational culture, conditions, and processes that facilitate innovation and enable large number of employees to move from an employee mindset into an intrapreneur mindset. World-class companies like Tata Steel recognize that the path to excellence is never ending, as can be seen from their continually increasing scores on business excellence over the years on the JRD-QV model, that is the JRD Tata Quality Value model, which essentially mirrors the Malcolm Baldrige business excellence model for companies based in US. The steps taken to create an innovative and intrapreneurial organization are the first in the long journey on which any company seeking to succeed in today's turbulent times must continue to persevere. Thank you.